Welcome to the Lisbon Sessions, the highlights edition from this popular first series.
So tell me, one generation up, one generation down. So we're chatting and saying, look, you could be sitting in Lisbon with your family, but the kids are maybe getting educated in Paris, the grandparents are retired in the Algarve or south of France. It doesn't necessarily have to be Portugal. Like you said, it's an avenue, but for one 500,000 investment, tell us a little bit more about who you can include.
Exactly. The beauty of the Portugal Golden Visa that you can include your family members. Which family members you're talking about? You're talking about direct relatives, children,
yes,
spouse and partner, and the parents, okay?
Yep.
If they're older, 65 years old, they qualify. If they are below, if they're dependent on you, they also qualify. So with one single investment of 500,000 euros, you can include all your family members.
Well, the first thing to do, speak to someone that knows what they're doing and has done this before, because it's complex, but actually if you get the steps right, it works.
Everybody's global.
Everybody's global, exactly. And honestly, and this is also a good point to start, all the process can be done remotely.
So clients don't have to visit.
Correct.
They're missing out because it's a beautiful city, but they don't have to come to Lisbon or Portugal.
Exactly. So that's something we always like to tell the clients on our first meeting. Thankfully, this is probably one of the few things that the pandemic brought that it's good, is that everything can be done remotely, from the initial preparation of the process and the initial formalities, like getting the tax number and opening a bank account, from the preparation of all the required documents for them to be able to do the investment, regardless of the investment that you choose, and of course, the ultimate step of submitting the actual application. So if a client wants to apply for the Golden Visa, they don't need to come to Portugal for that, We, of course, are welcoming them to come. Like you said, it's always a good trip for multiple reasons, not just to come to our office and to meet us. That's probably the most boring part of their trip. But if they are not, for some reason, work reason,
you could combine it with a little holiday, something casual.
Exactly.
Somebody's out there on YouTube watching this now, and they're looking at maybe Spain, Greece, Malta, other avenues to the EU, because we know that Portugal is an avenue to the Schengen. But why Portugal? Why should they go for the Golden Visa?
Portugal, I think it's the optimal choice. It has everything that all the other countries give you. And the biggest advantage is that Portugal Golden Visa leads to a citizenship without the need to live in Portugal. That is the biggest. It's actually one of the almost nowhere to be found. Where
it's the biggest sort of convenience.
To get a EU passport without living here, they only need you to stay like 14 days every 2 years and an investment. And at the end of 5 years, you can apply for citizenship. All the other, you need to live there for like 6 years, 8 years, 10 years. Sometimes like Spain doesn't allow dual citizenship. You need to denounce your own citizenship. So it's not a good choice for me personally.
No.
The open-ended fund and closed-ended fund question is very good one, especially because in CFA, which is Chartered Financial Analyst, we study the both versions of the fund, and not many people actually know the difference, both investors and also some of the resellers, so to speak. Because sometimes in the Golden Visa selling process, you have the mistake of people that come from the real estate business, that were real estate brokers, after October 2023, when it's no longer possible to buy real estate and be eligible for Golden Visa, you only have the fund option. You had a lot of transition of real estate brokers into the
sort of fund space,
to provide solutions to their clients. Now the products is quite different, and I see many times our peers saying that this is a guaranteed product or misleading statements, which has to be we have to be very careful with that. We tell our clients, look, this is private equity funds, they're risky products. On one spectrum, you have term deposits that are, or government bonds that are almost guaranteed, and then you have private equity on the other side of the spectrum. Now, the investors naturally ask us, how do you choose those that are less risky, or at least preserve our capital, or at least the guarantees that actually what the fund will be paying will be paying that amount?
Yes.
To answer your question about the open versus closed-ended funds, we only work with closed-ended funds.
Okay.
We have analyzed how more than 35 investment funds eligible for Golden Visa in Portugal, and we have selected 6 that we are comfortable in working with and to
in terms of put in front of the clients for consideration. Yeah.
And your fund, I should say, is in the top 2. So it's
there we go.
And it's a very good fund because it gives a very good return. A 10% return is very interesting, especially for non-residents who get it net of taxes. For them, it's very interesting. Another factor, risk evaluator, that we have in the formula is how will the assets be valued at the end of the fund life. That's why the closed-ended funds are very important, because we can assess how much the renewable energy panels, for example, will be worth in 10 years or 5 years from now. That gives the idea to the investor of what percentage of the money they'll be recovering. So not only the income that they're receiving every year, but also at the end, when all the projects are sold, what will I be recovered? Will I get my 500K back? Right? That's a big concern.
Of course.
So there's 2 concerns here: interest generation and the capital return. And in the closed-ended funds, you have that previsibility.
The security. So Portugal is a very secure country. We are number 7 in the global peace index. So it's a very secure country. Then we are quite central in the world. If you look at
it's a good
Portugal.
time zone to be on as well.
It's the same time zone as London. So in 2 hours flight, you are in London. You are closest to US and Canada, closest to South America. In 2 hours 45, you are in Frankfurt. Okay, we are not close to Asia, but the rest is quite manageable and quite central. Then, as you know, and you've been coming here, David, for many years, English is widely spoken. So in every bookshop, in every restaurant, in every coffee shop, people speak English.
Which is a huge it's a huge difference. Which helps. Well. You feel a part of you feel you can integrate quite quickly.
Then I would say that the cost of living compared to other European capitals, it's much lower. I think it's strategic that an investor should look what are the core areas of the Portuguese economy. Okay. What are these core areas? Well, first of all, renewable energy. That is strategic for Portugal. We are benchmarking in this specific sector. More than 50% of our energy is already renewable. Okay. So it's strategic sector. This is why your fund is interesting, because it's in a core area of or investing in a core area of the Portuguese economy.
It is the time to do it, because in practical terms, the time is clocking from the moment that you start your application online. So the Golden Visa, everything starts with getting a tax number, opening a bank account, and making an investment. And you can do all this in a month and a half, 2 months, okay? So in practical terms, I would say it is the time, because once we apply online, the 5 years range is counting to apply for the citizenship.
And that is new, Andrea, isn't it? That wasn't always the case. So it's a significant change.
Completely. Yes, it makes a difference now, because with all the delays we had on the Golden Visa program, in practical terms, we would have like the 5 years counting only from the moment that you would get the residence card.
Which can be about 18 months.
It's a long 2 years. It was a long period. But then the government switched this regime, and now we have this of you apply online, the 5 years are counting, and we have the experience, and we have the confirmation from the immigration office that this is the rule, and it works definitely like that.
So the stopwatch starts now At that stage.
Online application,
Okay.
exactly.
But do you find that people will ultimately want to move to Portugal, or are they tending to use Portugal as a means for Schengen?
So that's a very good question. I have both. So I have 50% of clients that just want an entrance to Europe, and normally those apply for the Golden Visa. Why? Because the Golden Visa is the only one that allows the applicant to spend 7 days per year. So it's like a holiday in each year.
And if I'm a United States citizen sitting in Newport Beach or somewhere in the middle of Texas, watching this video now on YouTube, what are my next steps if I'm looking and considering second residency? Why Portugal, and how quickly can I get into this program?
Right, so our clients normally start by drafting a power of attorney, granting us powers to act on their behalf. We help them in the first time when they really don't know where to invest and which are the types of investments eligible for the Golden Visa. We go through the types of investments they can have, and later on, as soon as they decide, we start by getting their taxpayer number in Portugal, which would be the first step of the process. This is the NIF number, and later it's a tax ID basically.
I understand.
And later we start by we also do the opening. We open a bank account for them in Portugal because that is mandatory for the entire process. They will actually need to transfer the funds to invest in the Golden Visa from an overseas bank account to a Portuguese one, so they can apply later for the Golden Visa. And in the meantime, we will be informing the client about all the documents related with the Golden Visa application and what is needed, so we can revise all the documentation. And as soon as the investment is performed, for example, in your fund, 500,000 euros in your particular fund, what will happen is that we will be able to gather all the documentation, not only coming from the client and also from his family or her family, but also from the bank itself and the fund. As soon as we have all together, we can apply for the Golden Visa and wait for the analysis from the immigration agency.
And right now they totally understand that Portugal is an independent country that has very good quality of life, very good conditions to even relocate. I would say that it's not the major will of the investors, but they always have to have this connection to be sure that they will have great weather, great food, great conditions of living here. Social security that works, medical health assistance, education. They can feel all this, and we know that these are some of the issues that they have in their own country. And now with this political instability, or at least polarization from this recent elections, they are fighting with that internally. And they want to create this as a plan B. I don't feel that most of the clients, they are actually relocating to Portugal.
Understood.
But they want to have the bridge.